Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and welcome to the next part of my new series, Top 5 Movies for every year that I've been alive. We're up to 1970, a year that I struggled, technically, to find a top 5, even though this is the first one where I have an honourable mention. But take that how you want to, I don't know, but I did struggle, as in some of the films, or I think all of the films, apart from two, it's been quite a while since I've seen them, but anyway, so let's get on with the list. These films, they're my favourite films of this year, but not necessarily the best films of this year, so off we go. Right, so first up, and it's not a countdown, like the first one isn't the worst or the best, it's just a list. Right, so the first one, first up, Taste the Blood of Dracula, a Hammer film, the first of 3 Hammer films in this list. I think it's 3. Just let me double check. Yes, the first of 3. Yes, the first of 3 Hammer films. Taste the Blood of Dracula, directed by Peter Sasdy, starring Christopher Lee as the Count. I think by this time we were getting a bit fed up playing Count Dracula. But he kept going back, they kept talking him into it. I think they essentially blackmailed Christopher Lee into playing Dracula in all these films that he didn't really want to appear in. They kept saying, all these people will be out of work if you don't come and play Dracula again for us. So tugging on his heartstrings, he kept coming back to play Dracula, even though he didn't particularly like doing it. Anyway, it stars Christopher Lee, Linda Hayden, Jeffrey Keane, Peter Sallis, and others. It's about a group of old, rich men, maybe kind of inspired by the Hellfire Club, where that were like a group of wealthy elites who used to get up to all sorts of shenanigans. This is that sort of thing. It's like rich men, bored rich men, who want to do like dangerous things. Not like bungee jumping, not that sort of dangerous, but anyway, they acquire, apparently, the blood of Dracula, and they go through some rituals and stuff and drink it, and somehow this brings Dracula back to life. And so he starts preying on the families of these men and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And... give it a whirl. But it's not the best of the Dracula films, in my opinion, but they're all fun. I love the Hammer films. My favourite ones are yet to come. They'll be included further on in the list. Right. So next up is another Dracula film from Hammer, the one that follows on from Taste the Blood of Dracula, which came out, I think, in April 1970. I could be wrong. Let me double check. May of 1970. I was close. This one came out. This is Scars of Dracula, directed by Roy Ward Baker. This came out in November 1970. Stars Christopher Lee again, Patrick Troughton, who we may know from Doctor Who and other stuff, Dennis Waterman, who we may know from The Sweeney and Minder, who are a popular British actor, Jenny Hanley, who after she became an actress, she was a dancer, and she became an actress, but she's most famous, I think, for being on British kids shows. I can't remember which one it was now. Was it Blue Peter, or was it Magpie? No, it was Magpie. She was on Magpie. Who was on Blue Peter then that I'm thinking of? I don't know. But she did a kids TV show called Magpie. She's most famous for that. Anyway, it's a traditional Dracula story in a European village with a castle overlooking it, and the ending. Dennis Waterman plays the young hero. Jenny Hanley plays the virginal victim of Dracula, of his desires and all that. And it has a great ending. Spoilers. Where Dracula's thrown over some battlements or whatever and is impaled on a huge cross. And it's cool, and there we go. So that's Scars of Dracula. It's a lot of fun. Give it a whirl. Right, so next up is the next Hammer film. Not a horror film this time. Next one is When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, the sequel to 1 Million Years BC, directed by Val Guest, the science fiction, B-movie, horror legend. He's done everything as Val guessed. Stars Victoria Victory, Robin Hood and Patrick Allen and Imogen Hassel. It's pretty much the same story, essentially, as 1 Million Years BC, with Victoria Victory playing the Raquel Welch role. She was going to be sacrificed to the gods, and but she escapes and ends up befriending a dinosaur that looks a little bit like the dinosaur from the beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Is it a Redosaurus? I don't know, but she ends up befriending that, and she has adventures along the way, and she's very nice to look at. The effects in this were not done by Ray Harryhausen, which were the case for 1 Million Years BC. This one, they were done by Jim Danforth, but you wouldn't know. They're amazing. They're still amazing effects, and it's a lot of fun. I think there's a cheeky bit of nudity in it, in some cuts of the film, even though it had like a U certificate, or be G, wouldn't it, for America. I think that they sneaked a bit of nudity in. From what I've heard, I've never noticed it, so it must be quick. I've never noticed it, but unless in the versions I've seen, it's not there. But I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that one in there. So, anyways, that's when dinosaurs ruled the earth. A lot of fun, great fun. Next up, my favourite of the what am I talking about? My favourite of the Planet of the Apes films. We've got Battle for the Planet of the Apes to come, I think. Maybe, I don't know. My favourite of the Planet of the Apes films, not necessarily the best of the Planet of the Apes films. That's including the new lot, which I really enjoyed, which are amazing technical feats. The new Planet of the Apes films, but talking about essentially the original batch. The first one's still the best, the Charlton Heston one from 1968. But this one's my favourite, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, directed by Ted Post, starring James Franciscus, Kim Hunter, Maurice Evans, Linda Harrison, and a brief appearance from Charlton Heston. It's like at the beginning, and it pops up again at the end. Spoilers. No Roddy McDowall in this one. We've got David Watson as Cornelius. Roddy McDowall was busy directing his own film at the time, so he was unavailable. You wouldn't know. He's not in it that much anyway. But it's a lot of fun. James Franciscus plays Brent, who's part of another team of astronauts who end up travelling to the future. And he's looking for Taylor and the other crew. If he doesn't find Taylor, he finds Nova, finds Taylor later. And, adventures ensue, and he finds a group of mutants in the Forbidden Zone who have psychic powers and are worshipping a doomsday bomb. It's mental. And a very downbeat ending. But that wasn't the end of the Apes films. It's my favourite one. It's a lot of fun. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Next up, and finally, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, the Billy Wilder film, starring Robert Stevens, Christopher Lee, Colin Blakely, and many, many more. It's about... it's a Sherlock Holmes, obviously. It's about like spies. I think they're Russian spies. I could be right. They're Russian or German. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen this film. But making their way into England, or Britain, should I say, through Loch Ness, using a submarine disguised as the Loch Ness Monster, and using little people disguised as children to operate it, or whatever. It's a lot of fun. It's classed as a comedy. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember that I did enjoy it, so that's why it's in my list. 1970 was a tough year to find a favourites, for me anyway, to find a favourites list. But it's been a while since I've seen this, so I'm going to have to look it up and give it another watch and see if I do enjoy it as much as I thought I did the first time around. It had a pretty hefty budget for the time, $10 million. I can't imagine it made that back. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. From what I remember. Right, so now we've got, for the first time in the series, an honourable mention. And I think, to be honest, I should have swapped this for Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, because It's a fun film. It's called Trog, a British sci-fi horror film directed by Freddie Francis. It's not a Hammer film, but it could be, given half a chance. It's not far off that feel. It's essentially about they discovered a caveman in some caves in England who somehow survived to present day. They call him like a missing link. Call him Trog because that's short for troglodyte. It means like a cave dweller. For his face, it looks like an ape man. For his face, they used the same like makeup effects that they used in 2001, A Space Odyssey, for the ape men in that. And it's fun. Like I say, obviously it all goes wrong and he escapes and he kills people and stuff like that. And it all, a very sad ending. But it stars Joan Crawford in a role that you think, what the hell is Joan Crawford doing in a film like this? But she's there, starring in the film. So I've got Michael Gough and Bernard Kay. Directed by Freddie Francis. I might have said that already. It's a lot of fun. It's, as I said, I was torn between including this in the main list and Private Life of Sherlock Holmes as the honourable mention. They're interchangeable. Maybe these are joint number 5. Not that it's a countdown, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so we'll leave it there. So that was Trog, the honourable mention. Right, so we'll just go through his list one more time. First up, Taste the Blood of Dracula, followed by Scars of Dracula, and then When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, and the honourable mention for this year, Trog. So we'll leave it there. So, what's 1971 got to come? Let's have a check, shall we, on my list here. We've got a horror film, a great British horror film in my opinion, which we've covered in Appointment with Fear, so that's a clue. Another Planet of the Apes film, and 3 classics, they're all classics in my opinion, but 3 genuine classics as well. So there we go. We'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll say the...